Welcome back to my YouTube channel, Patricia Monna Intuitive Consulting. Today I have the lovely Susan Reynolds with me once again to come and do the psychic and astrological predictions for April 2025. And I do have a little bit of an update about what's going on here in Canada, because just recently, kind of like what I predicted last year, actually, I'm going to try and stitch it in, Susan, if I can figure out how to be able to do it. But back in my predictions from July 2024, I started talking about Mark Carney, a guy by the name of Mark Carney. And I don't think most Canadians even knew who this guy was at the time. I know I didn't, but I had heard his name and it stood out to me. And it's like, oh, that's who's going to be stepping in. Because I was thinking about this. Okay, if he does get kicked out, we'll say, as the Liberal leader, you know, that shocking turn of events that you're saying kind of fits the bill. If this goes down, then I think I figured out the Liberals' next chess move. So if Trudeau steps down, like he really, really should, they're going to promote, I think it's this Mark Carney guy, whoever it is that they want to put next as Liberal leader. It's either him or LeBlanc or something like that. Anyways, whoever the next person is, right, that would sit there as the interim, because there would have to be someone to take over until the election if he was to step down, and then we get an election. Well, I think that actually that would be smart of them in order to try and do damage control. Say, okay, Trudeau's done. I'm putting this new guy in. This new guy is going to try and, I don't know, maybe reverse some things, try and do some damage control over Trudeau so that they don't lose the election by a landslide. That probably would be, just saying, that would be their smartest move, because their name is so damaged. The Liberals and the NDP here are so damaged. And the reason why the NDP are damaged is because to cheat the system, even though it's not cheating the system, but no one in the history, I think, of Canada has done it before, where they merged parties so that they could knock out the Conservatives. They literally merged parties so that they could have a majority and pass through whatever they wanted. So the two parties were passing through everything, putting us big time in debt, big time in debt, and then throwing the carbon tax at us, taxing the crap out of us because they don't know how to stop shopping. So anyways, to do some damage control, because it's getting pretty deep, like the corruption around the Liberals and around Trudeau in particular, it's sick. It's sick. If you knew how many scandals this guy has had and gotten away with it, including perjury on the stand, it is mind-blowing. This guy thinks he's above the law. Who knows? Maybe he is. I didn't know he was, though, right? Anyways, he needs to go. So if he goes, it's over damage control, and they'll try to do it to save some seats, because if they don't do something big and, all of a sudden, like you're talking about, they're going to not only lose, they're going to lose by a landslide, like a historic landslide. When Trudeau gets shamed out of office, and he did. He was shamed out of office. He was told, if you don't step down, we're kicking you out. So Mark Carney was just elected as the new Liberal leader here in Canada, just like I predicted. And I think that was their way of trying to do some damage control with the Liberals. And the funniest thing was, because I knew I had predicted that, but I couldn't figure out where. And so I found it, and I also found what I said after that, where I predicted that part of his platform would be to repeal the carbon tax, something that the Liberals are really, really pushing for. They want to tax us for basically breathing, like everything will have a carbon tax on it. And so it's funny, because part of his platform is to stop that. And I know that he'll be bringing that back in later if he was to get elected. Now, I don't feel for a second that he will be our permanent leader. He is the interim. They just called an election on April 28th. So thank God, Canada finally has a chance to be free of the Liberals that held us down. Like, Canada, we must never forget being told that we couldn't go anywhere, we couldn't do anything, and if you didn't take this, you were basically the black sheep, and you weren't allowed to participate in society. I will never forget their rhetoric and the names that the Liberal government called people who decided to exercise their sovereignty and bodily autonomy. I'll never forget that. And the one thing that I did like about Pierre Poilievre, I think I've mentioned this before, but during the pandemic, I reached out to him. This is going to be our new prime minister. I reached out to him. I emailed him and I said, do you know about the World Economic Forum? Do you know about Klaus Schwab? Like, do you know about the danger of the World Economic Forum getting their hands on our country? And he says, Patricia, they're already in. And he's the one who told me that Klaus Schwab actually sent out his book, The Great Reset, to every single politician in the world. And so it's kind of interesting how quickly that book was written and given out within something like 60 days of the pandemic. And yet it's all about the pandemic and what, and the opportunity it was for the Great Reset. So after the pandemic was done, I think all of us are flipping exhausted with all of this stuff, right? But the crappy thing is that Agenda 2030 is still on the books. The World Economic Forum is so close to completely infiltrating our country. And I say that because I have found out just what a big family the Liberals are. So get a load of this, because it'll kind of blow your mind. I went down the rabbit hole of, okay, so who is Mark Carney? And, what is his relations to the Trudeaus? Well, Justin Trudeau's mom, Mark Carney's mom is, Mark Carney's mother is brothers with Fried Kemper. And after Margaret and Pierre Trudeau split up, Margaret married Fried Kemper. So Justin Trudeau, so Fried Kemper is Mark Carney's uncle, and they had 2 kids together, which is Kyle Kemper, which is Justin Trudeau's half brother. Both of them are Mark Carney's first cousins. So they're all family. They're all family. Mark Carney is Justin Trudeau's uncle by marriage. And anyways, they're all family. I'm saying this wrong. I'm reading the quick notes, but you guys look into it. They're all married. They're all family. It's just insane how they're all in it, a family, and this is supposed to be a democracy. And it's this family that has been ruling our country, because you got to remember that Justin Trudeau's father ruled our country for quite some time and wrecked it too, long before Justin Trudeau came in. So the fact that they're all family really is quite disturbing to me. And what's interesting is Justin Trudeau, Mark Carney, and Chrystia Freeland are all part of the World Economic Forum, and they all have very high up statuses in the World Economic Forum. So it is a family of elites that's trying to rule our country. So Canadians need to be really careful on who we're voting in. And apparently this Mark Carney guy is not good news. Like England, he was one of the high ups in the Bank of England, and they call him Carnage Carney out in Europe. And so this is who's got his meat hooks into Canada right now. And I just remember watching the video where Klaus Schwab openly admitted to infiltrating the cabinetry of all of the countries. So it's not just here. There's many countries where these World Economic Forum plants have been put so that they can influence countries and policies and put things into effect that normally, maybe wouldn't be on the table. Well, they're all about Agenda 2030. And it's just, people really need to look into it and understand that the Great Reset apparently still has momentum. I thought we squashed that, but nope. And that is the ideology of you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. Where here's the other thing that I found out. My mind's all over the place with this stuff because I've learned so much of it, and I'm scared that I'm going to say it wrong. But Mark Carney actually wants to have a lottery to have children. That's part of the agenda. I'm dead serious. Where not everybody in the future will be allowed to have kids. That your name will go in a hat in a lottery. That's what they want. That's how they want to keep birth rates to whatever numbers they want, right? Like it's some seriously messed up ideology, and that's just one thing. Another thing is that I don't want to predict this, but part of the ideology of the World Economic Forum is to crash the economies globally and to set up a new digital dollar and a surveillance system, kind of like the social credit system that China has. So we gotta be careful who we're electing and make sure that, that we're really looking into what these people represent and their ideologies, because now is the time to be able to have our voices being heard through our votes. So April 28th, everybody get out there and vote. Me personally, I'm voting for freedom. I'm voting for Pierre Poilievre because that's who I believe out of all of them, like that's the one that speaks freedom and stood up for the people who chose bodily autonomy and stood with the truckers. Like, so he's got my vote. Anyways, okay, so I thought that was crazy about the connection, how it's all one big family. They're also, Agenda 2030 is about those 15-minute cities, so we'll talk about that because now that we're going into April, we are going into that fiery energy again, right? Where we may see cities burning or certain areas burning that they may want to bring a 15-minute city into. So I would definitely, we need to get prepared in one way, shape, or form for some sort of big event this year, because 2025 has been on my radar for a long time, and I can feel the energy of it mounting, right? And it's just one of the easiest ways to, like we've seen in the past few years, to wipe out a city and without having to put a face and a name to it, is to blame Mother Nature. So yeah, so we need to watch for that stuff again this year and use our common sense. Is it what we're being told, or is there more to the story?
Well, I don't know if you remember, but when we did our predictions talk in January, we talked about a crypto. We talked about governments trying to move the currency towards crypto.
Yeah.
So we were sort of ahead of the curve because we were talking about what I see astrologically, what you pick up intuitively, what we both see for the future, and our energy was already there, already looking at this.
Yeah.
Now I'll say we're hearing a lot about Mark Carney in the U.S.
Are
But
you now?
every time I hear that name, I think about you. I think about Patricia.
I said it first. I
Yeah.
didn't even know who he was. And I'm like, oh, the minute I heard his name, I was like, oh, that's who's getting replaced. But do you want to know what they did? There was two other people that were kicking his butt in the polls. So they disqualified them. They kicked them out so the guy would win. Oh yeah, because he's a plant. Sorry, go on.
Well, I'm going to say, and this is strictly intuitive, folks. This is not astrological at all. I know nothing about this guy other than his name, which I've heard from you. It feels like he's sort of a blip. His energy feels like he comes in and then he's gone, like almost like a blip on the radar. And it feels like the country elects a more conservative or has a more conservative prime minister.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like in the beginning, that starts out fine. Everything's hunky dory. But little by little, it's like the conservative minister goes too far. in
Yeah,
conservative talk.
I could see that.
So, but this is not, all this year. It's like little by little by little.
Hmm.
So remember what I said, folks, about this Pluto and Aquarius. Aquarius is about freedom. It is about independence. It is about equality. And so the world, not just Canada, the US, but the world is moving in a direction that is the antithesis of that. We are moving towards more domineering governments, more government control, less freedoms. This is what we're seeing everywhere, even in democracies, even in long-standing democracies. And so this sort of has to happen because what's going to happen between 2023 and 2043 is that as that boot comes down on the populace harder and harder, the populace starts to say, no, this is unacceptable. And in these next 10 years, we're going to start to see more and more rebellion from the population. It's almost like going back to the years of rebellion against England, against France, against Russia, against the elite hierarchy at the top, against the masses.
Hmm.
Over these next 10 years, we're going to see the masses start to mobilize and go, oh, hell no. I know what you're seeing from the liberal side as a lack of freedoms. We're seeing the same thing here from the conservative side. I'm going to say going forward in the future, we have a tendency as humans to think of the good guy and the bad guy,
Yeah.
the good party and the bad party. But I'm going to tell you, as much as possible, don't do that
Yeah.
because they're all crap. I'm sorry.
I have to agree.
I hate to say this,
Best of the worst.
but
Yeah.
yeah, the liberals are crap. The conservatives are crap. It's like the leaders. It's not about whether you're liberal or conservative. It's about the leaders.
Yeah.
If you're in a leadership position, you're moving towards less freedoms and more power.
Hmm.
And so it's not about, the labels or the names. Look at the energy, look at what they're proposing, look at what they're doing, not what they're saying. Because we're going to see this happening everywhere in countries we never expected, in people we trusted, in
Yeah.
government leaders we trusted and believed in. We're going to start to see this because this is part of how the world is going to evolve. But it is going to take some time. And 2025 is sort of like the banner year for crap. I hate to say it like that, but it is the year when so many things are changing
Hmm.
and people, both in Canada and the US, are changing the way they look at our governments. I'm much older than you, Patricia, and I grew up believing we're the good guys and we can trust our government and the president wants what's best for us. And it has been hard for me over these last
Hmm.
decade or so to realize, oh, that's not true. That's not the case.
Yes.
So I've had to broaden my thinking and change my thinking. And
Hmm.
over time, we're going to see more and more people do this. That it's not about, because we have a tendency, if we like that person, it's okay. And if we don't like that person, it's not okay. And
Hmm.
that's a dangerous thing to do in this day and age.
Yes.
So put as much of the personalities aside and start to look at the bottom line, like what is happening.
Hmm.
I'm going to say I'm shocked at what's happening between the US and Canada. And
Yeah.
I remember, what was it, last month when you were apologizing to Americans like, we love you.
Yeah.
Most Canadians don't think like that. I'm going to say the same things to Canadians. Americans love you.
I
We're
I
not
think
mad at you.
I think they're just trying to cause division, which is crazy. 2025, like I said, it's been like that for me for a few years. And when I looked into it, I don't want to be all doomsday and all that crap. Things are changing this year. And it's funny because over the last 5 years, I've always said, is it another COVID situation? Sit down, shut up, you're not going anywhere again unless you do as you're told. Or is it World War III? Because the energy of 2025 feels so changing big time, like our world is changing. Well, I don't know if you knew this or not, but France, Germany, Poland, Finland, Sweden, and Norway have all sent out pamphlets and survival kits in case of war. And apparently, the last time they did that was for World War II. Well, I just think that there's going to be a major timeline shift at some point this year. And, however it goes down, if or when, whatever, I know that we signed up for it. I know that we have come in to become the witnesses of whatever is going down in history in the making. You know what I mean? So we just, like you said, find your peace, find your center. That's the greatest thing that you can do, because really, if it's out of our control, we shouldn't be worried about it. It's good to know. It's good to know, what's coming up, and the way the energies are turning. And I just think that there's a lot of things that are really biblical that are lining up right now. Speaking of that, one of the things in the Bible in Revelations, it talks about look up, signs in the skies. Well, I don't know if you knew this or not, but I'm going to be going on a cruise with Stephen Greer, April 6th to the 12th, to see if there's aliens in the ocean.
I cannot wait to hear about this.
I'm curious. I'm curious. Show me. Show me. I'm open to anything. Sounds like a great, girls' week trip. So that's why I thought, okay, yeah, I'll go. We'll do some remote viewing there and see what's going on. So yeah, anyways, I'm going to go live from my YouTube channel and bring you guys with me to the middle of the ocean. So hopefully you guys can, put on the notifications so you don't miss the lives, because I'll answer your questions and you can interact with me during it. But thanks for letting me say that, because I almost forgot. But anyways, yeah, signs in the skies.
Can't wait to
That's
hear
where I
about
was
that.
going. So we'll see how it goes.
Because aliens are what we would call non-human forms from other dimensions, places, energies, whatever. They're coming more and more into the earth.
Yeah.
And they're doing that for the most part to keep us from blowing ourselves up, to
I
help
think so
us
too. Yeah, I
find a
agree.
way through this very tense, very volatile time. So I'm not afraid or agitated. It's, for me, I'm looking at this as a good thing. So I cannot wait to hear what you see or find or experience, or just,
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, I've seen weird things in the skies before that I definitely couldn't explain. So it'll be, nice to have a pro there to show me, what's what. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
all right.
So April energies.
Oh,
One of the things that I will say, I do believe that there's going to be more truth coming out, but I kind of pegged it in May, actually. Drips in April, but in May, you guys are going to have celebrities outed. Whoever was involved in the P. Diddy stuff, I think he must have like a court date in May or something like that, because I keep seeing people being called. And it's funny because I've mentioned Oprah and Ellen DeGeneres before, and Beyonce and Jay-Z. These are all people that when I look at their auric field, it is not good, not good. And I definitely think that they are in thick with that whole group. And yeah, I think that their names are going to be more in the news in like the end of April and May. So
I get that with Jay-Z and Beyonce a lot. Like they're talking to lawyers a lot, or they're lawyering up, or they're
they need
lawyers with
to. They're
them, or they're
horrible
doing
people.
depositions or something like that. So I definitely see them being involved in more legal activities. That does not feel like it helps them. So yeah. But in many ways, March was so aggravating. There's all this fire energy going on, and lunar eclipse and solar eclipse and retrograde, Venus and retrograde Mercury, everything just kind of coming at us. I do think April, we're going to start to see some of that shift in a good way. One of the things that I love, because Mercury retrograde has just been beating me up one side or the other. It's, push me down, kick sands and Susan space. And it's just been aggravating me up to death. But on April 7th, Mercury is going to turn direct. When I refer to a planet as being retrograde, it means that it appears to be moving backwards. It doesn't actually physically change direction, but from the point of Earth, it appears like it's changing, going backwards. When we have Mercury retrograde, we run into snafus and problems, and the plane is delayed. They lost our reservation. We have a communication glitch. We lost our phone. The car's making funny noise. not necessarily things that are deadly, but things that annoy our life. On April 7th, Mercury is going to turn direct, which I love. Good for Mercury. So the first week in April, it's still retrograde. And then after that, finally, done for another few months. It's going
That's
to
when I'm
move forward.
traveling.
Oh, that's right. That's right. So I just tell people leave extra time. One of my clients asked me an interesting question because she and her husband are planning a cruise for this summer, and it just so happened they were planning it over a Mercury retrograde period. And during that same period of time, she was planning to have some cosmetic surgery done. And I was advising her not to travel. She hadn't told me about the cosmetic surgery, but I was advising her, allow extra time. If you can avoid traveling with that, avoid it. But if you go, allow extra time. And she sent me an email later. She said, well, Susan, you told me not to have the surgery during that time, but you're saying like it seems like it's okay to take the trip. What's the difference? And I said, when you're going on a cruise and Mercury's retrograde, you're going to be annoyed. They give you the wrong cabin, they lost your deposit. You're going to be annoyed.
Yeah.
But she was looking at cosmetic surgery on her face. And I'm like, the RE in retrograde is like redo, redone, regurgitate. You do not want to have that redo energy when you're having surgery on your face.
Yeah, totally.
Like it kind of ups the ante a little bit, So I would wait. You can be annoyed that your plane is delayed. I don't want them to have to go in because the stitches aren't healing or you're bleeding or something else. So it really depends on what you're doing. But after April 7th, Mercury is moving forward and we're all a little bit calmer, a little bit happier. We get the right phone, the car is fixed, things calm down a little bit. Then on April 12th, Venus, which has also been retrograde since the beginning of March, also turns direct. So starting on April 13th, Venus is moving forward and is in a much better mood. Venus retrograde, we start having the same old argument with our spouse. Oh, I thought that was settled, and here we are arguing about it again. Sometimes we hear from an old love, which we may or may not like, kind of thing. So it can agitate us. It can annoy our life. It can upset our equilibrium. But after April 13th, Venus is turning direct. So for the second half of April, both Mercury and Venus are in forward motion. And we are all going to be in a much better mood. I'm just letting you know. We're going to be happier.
Right. Good. And I hope that goes for people's health too, because it just seems like there's something nasty going around. Where I live in Calgary, it's like everyone's sick right now. So
People
it's,
are sick here too.
yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy, crazy. Do you know that people generally get sick 3 to 4 times a year? If I got sick 3 to 4 times a year, I'd be like, what's wrong with me? Yeah. Yeah.
No, I
On
didn't
average,
know
yeah,
that.
3 to 4 times
That's
a
the
year.
norm?
Yeah,
'Cause I'm
that's
like
the
you, I don't
norm.
get sick
I
3 or 4 times a
know.
year.
I haven't been sick until way before the pandemic. So it's like I could not imagine being sick that many times a year. But yeah, generally people are. So
Now,
we're
I do get
blessed
the
in that
occasional
way.
migraine, but when you're talking sick,
Yeah,
like
sick,
needing
sick.
to see a
Yeah,
doctor or
cough, cold,
healthcare,
flu.
that
Yeah.
was like last August, I think was the last time I had to see a doctor for that. Wow, 3 or 4
Sounds about
times a year
right.
seems like a lot.
I know it does. So I don't know if that's an energy or a what, but it's interesting because I know to some people this may sound crazy, but it worked all through the pandemic and I still do it, where I visualize a golden beam of light flowing down through the crown of my head and I see it filling every single cell in my body. And then I visualize the pores of my skin opening up and I inhale that bright light and accentuate it through my breath and then push it out into my auric field, out through my skin and make a shield. And I swear nothing's getting past that auric shield because think about it. A virus or a pathogen has to, get
through our
through
aura to
your
get to us.
aura in order to affect you in your body, right? So if it can't get through your aura, it has no effect on you. So anyways, for anyone who wants to try that little visualization, it saved my butt all through the pandemic and still going, knock on wood. So it works. It seems to work.
At the least, it's not going to hurt you.
Yeah, exactly. Why not
Even if it
shield
does
up?
nothing, it's not going to hurt you, or it will help you a lot. So there's no downside to doing that.
Well, and you know what? It makes sense too because the body responds to what the mind is thinking, right? This is why we can think our way into a good mood, a bad mood, an orgasm, right? Your thoughts will make your body tingle in places if you have those thoughts. So, all I'm saying is our thoughts, our body's constantly listening. It's like a little puppy. It's like just waiting for the command. So, if you command it to heal, you command it to be clean and shielded and protected, it's going to react to that, right? It's mind over matter, whatever you want to call it, calling in your protective energy. Something seems to work when you do that. So that's my little trick of staying healthy. So
Well,
anyways, I bring that up because hopefully moving into April now, people's immune system, now that the sun is coming back out, we can everybody can be better.
but March, April are also months, at least here in the United States where I live, they're months of transition. We're transitioning from the winter cold months to the
Yeah,
spring,
that's true.
and it's a change of season. And some people's
True
bodies
that.
tend to overreact to this
Yeah.
change of season. Some people handle it very well. Other people, they feel off and they don't quite know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that the seer Edgar Casey talked about some remedies that you can take to help your body adjust to this. So if you want to look online at what he said about this, that might be a way to help your body adjust. Some people's bodies are just not in harmony with the vibration of the earth. Some
Yeah.
people come in and it's like, oh, I don't belong here. I do not like this at all. I need to talk to somebody. They just don't like it. And they're not in harmony. And so they're more vulnerable. And so they need to maybe take a little extra care, a little extra TLC to do whatever they need to do to make sure they are protected, to make sure the energy field is as solid and strong as they can make it.
Mm-hmm.
Throughout most of April, Venus is going to be in Pisces. And Pisces is about healing, it is about health and healing. But
Ah.
Pisces is also fuzzy. Pisces rules fog, it rules clouds. It rules like, well, we're not sure what this is, or it could be this, or it could be that. It's very annoying, is what it is. We get sick, we want to go to the doctor, they tell us what it is, here, take this, and we're on our way.
Yeah.
That's not Pisces energy. It's like, well, we're not sure. We're going to watch this or just do this or that. So we can be a little frustrated with our health or healing. We can be a little frustrated at this not being very clear. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we're like you guys. I'm seeing a lot of sick clients. I've had friends who've been knocked out for 2 weeks. It's yeah, it's it's messy. It's nasty. Whatever this bug is, it's nothing to be trifled with. Go to the doctor, take care of yourself.
Yeah, for sure, for sure, for sure. Um, any other things that you wanted to say about the energy of April? I'm just looking at my
Oh
list.
yeah. We have Mercury. I said it was going to go direct on April 7th.
Yeah.
On April 17th, it is going to enter the sign of Aries. And it's going to leave the Pisces energy that it retrograded back into, and it is going to move into Aries. And Mercury is a planet of communication. It is our words, it is how we think, how we share ideas. It is our blogs, our social media, our Facebook, our phones, or how do we communicate? And in this day and age, we've got dozens of different devices and ways of
Mhm.
communicating. And Aries is very forceful, it's very dynamic. So, on a personal level, we may be speaking up more. If you struggle to stand up for yourself, if you struggle to speak up, this Mercury in Aries is going to help you. It's like, excuse me, I was here first. No yelling and screaming, but you're going to stand up for yourself. But if you're a little bit more, let's say, bold in your approach to life,
Mhm.
this can push you into put your dukes up verbally. We're going to see, even in Canada and the United States, and I hate saying this, a lot more rhetoric. Like, we don't have enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
More
I
rhetoric is
agree.
going to come, more angry words. You
Mhm.
know, when did we start to see if a political candidate disagrees with you that there's somehow a demon,
Yeah.
that there's somehow the devil incarnate? you
Mhm.
know it's like, you disagree with me and you need to not exist or something, like just crazy crazy stuff. So we're going to see, on the political, on the educational, on the financial, in in religion, across the board, in different areas of life, we're going to see more bold words. We're going to see more anger come up. On a personal level, anger that we thought we dealt with, the father that abandoned us, the mother who wasn't very nice to us, the sister that's never paid back the money they borrowed, or whatever it is, it's going to start coming up. And you never paid that $500 you borrowed from me when you were 18. Like it's just,
Yeah.
it's like I'm spewing out. We thought we were done with it, not so fast.
Yeah.
So be aware of what you're saying. Pay a little bit more attention to it. If you have a problem with somebody and you want to address it, think that through beforehand. Even write out, these are the points I want to cover. Make sure you're sort of in charge of your words and your communication, because this can be great for starting a website, starting a blog, getting a Facebook, handle or whatever it is. It's wonderful for taking action in terms of how you want to communicate. Write a book, start writing that book you've been talking about for years, because Mercury and Aries wants to share their message, but make sure it's balanced. Make sure it's not impulsive. And this can be sort of going off at the retail worker at the clothing store, the cashier at the grocery store, like, no, those eggs were supposed to be $6. How dare you charge me 602? Like, and the poor person's like, I'm sorry, my finger slipped, kind of thing, or whatever it is. So we need to be aware this is not a bad energy. I'm excited about it, but we want to own that energy instead of having it own us.
Yes.
I'm also going to say, and I'm very excited about this, is that in April, we have Mercury, this planet of the mind and communication I was just talking about. It's going to come smack up against Neptune. Neptune is a planet of spirit. It is a Neptune. Neptune is the planet that helps us find our higher self. Our guides, our angels. That's Neptune ruled. What is our soul's purpose? What are our intuitive or psychic abilities? How do we connect with our dreams? All the woo-woo stuff is ruled by Neptune.
When is that? When is that coming in?
It's now Neptune is already in Pisces, where it has been for the last 12
Gotcha.
years. On March 30th, since this is going to air in April, is when Neptune puts its big toe into 0 degrees Aries.
Okay.
It's changing signs for the first time in 12 years and going into Aries for the first time in 165 years.
Wow.
So we have never had this energy before. Unless you're over 165 years of age, you have never experienced this Neptune in Aries. This year, we are going to have both Neptune and Saturn leave Pisces, which is very love and light, peace. Let me see what's going to happen. I'll wait for a sign. Beautiful energy, but it's done with Pisces. And this year, on March 30th, Neptune put its big toe into Aries. And at the end of May, Saturn's going to put its big toe into Aries. So we're shifting out of complacency and let's wait and see into kick-ass, take names and make it happen energy of Aries. So we're going to see that all over, on a personal level, on a community level, on a family level, on a national level, on an international level, because Aries is the sign of war. Aries is ruled by Mars, the planet of war. So countries are going to be more ready to take a physical approach. Screw diplomacy. You did this. We're going to hit you where it hurts. I'm not saying it has to happen, but that's why we're going to see more rhetoric. We're going to see more less willing to negotiate. No, by God, you screwed us over for the last time. So there can be incidents. I'll just put it like that. Doesn't mean a full-blown war or attack, but it can be like, oh, we accidentally sank your ship. We're so sorry, it was an accident. Oh, your plane accidentally got into our airspace. Sorry. So we may see little incidents like that happening, because that's Aries energy. And we're going to see ourselves using this now. The people watching this, the people who are spiritually aware, they're going to see Mercury and Neptune come together, the planet of the mind with the planet of intuitive and psychic abilities. They're going to come together. I think they're perfect. They're like right on top of each other on April 16th. But we're going to feel it earlier than that. So you may already be feeling some of this. At the beginning of April, you're going to feel this. Intuitive and sensitive people seem to pick up this energy a little bit earlier. So
Mhm.
going into April, you're going to be more interested in developing your intuitive abilities. You're going to be more interested in seeing a psychic or getting a reading.
Yeah.
You may see more people signing up for your workshops, going to your retreat in Sedona. You know, my friend Indy and I are teaching a 3-month course of study in developing your intuitive wisdom.
Nice.
And so this is where it's like people want to say, yes, I think Patricia's great. Yes, I think Susan's great, but I want my own intuitive ability. I want to do what they do.
Yeah.
So we're going to
And
see more
everyone can.
people.
Everybody can. It's innate. It's in there. It's just different, varying degrees of it, right? But once you learn the language, it's like there's no going back. Once you can literally see through that veil, I'm telling you, there's no going back. I feel sorry for the black and white people. I like seeing in color. It is. It's like literally seeing or listening to, or watching 1080p instead of, fuzzy black and white TV. Don't go back. You can't.
Once you ring that bell, it does
Yeah.
not unring.
Yeah.
And she and I have taught this course before. And there's that moment when somebody's like, oh, I got it. Or oh my God,
Yes.
I'm right. That
Best
moment
feeling.
when the light comes on, and you've seen that with
Yeah.
because you teach the same
Me.
kind of things. It's so powerful
Yeah.
when you realize you can do it. And we are often our own worst enemy. So I'm super excited and looking at this as a good thing. So you may be joining some kind of spiritual studies group. You may be reading more. You may be going to psychic fairs or expos or mind, body, spirit things. It's very artistic, it's very creative. So if you work in the artistic or creative energies at all, bingo, this is going to amp up those ideas. You may not be able to sleep at night because boom, 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 the mind is just bringing you all these wonderful ideas.
Yeah.
So this is not a bad energy. I'm excited about it. But
Nice.
remember what I said about the fuzziness. Mercury is about the mind, and Neptune tends to cloud the issues. So you're going to have to be a little bit more diligent about confirming appointments, making sure equipment is working,
Hmm.
staying on top of the details because
Hmm.
this tends to, we're in meditation woo woo land. So make sure you've got your feet on the ground if your head's going to be up in the clouds. I'll
Amen.
also mention quickly because I know we're almost out of time. In April, of course, like every month, we have a full moon and we have a new moon. And we've got our new moon at the end of the month on the 27th of April. And that new moon is going to be in Taurus and it's going to be at 7 degrees Taurus.
Mm.
So all the fixed signs, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius, they're going to really react to this new moon pretty strongly. I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean you're going to feel it a little bit more intensely. Taurus tends to be a bit stubborn. And if you know Taurus, you're nodding right along with us. Like it is no small thing to get a Taurus to change their mind. All the fixed signs, have their stubborn ways, but Taurus just digs those little heels in. So it's not a good time to try to change the plans. It's not a good time to try to get somebody to look at something differently than they want.
Yeah.
Now, remember, even though it's starting on the 27th, the energy begins 3 days before and lasts up to 3 days after.
Hmm.
So we're really talking April, what, 24th through, April 30th.
Yeah.
So be aware, it's like that week there
Yeah.
that, not a good time to ask your boss to change the plans or can you be off or put me on another team or whatever.
Mm.
So if things need to change, do it before or after, especially whatever you begin, because this is a new moon. And new moons are wonderful for new beginnings and starting new projects. But because of the fixed energy of this moon, be aware whatever you start now, you may be doing for a long time. So if you start dating somebody new, you may be dating them for longer than you think. It may not be like, oh, I'm bored. Let me just go out with this person for a night.
Yeah.
A little longer than you think. If you just agree to babysit your niece once a week, you may be babysitting them more. So be careful of your commitments.
Yeah.
Whatever you commit to, whatever you begin, that fixed energy is going to have you staying with it. But
Uh,
if you're starting a new job, if you're, starting a new business, this could be a really positive energy for you. And
good.
there could be some money things going on here because
Mhm.
Taurus is one of the two money signs. So we may be dealing with financial matters. Now, the other one is the full moon. Hang on. Full moons are when the sun and the moon are opposite each other.
Mhm.
And so there's stress there. There's conflict there. The sun wants to do something, the moon wants to do something else. This is where we're fighting.
Mhm.
Hospitals will say, full moon Saturday night, all bets
Yes,
are off. People are acting
100%.
crazy.
I used to work in one. I know what you mean.
And that's because all those inner emotions for security or what we feel that we push down on a normal level, boom, the full moon brings it out.
Mm.
And on Saturday night, sometimes there's more drinking, more partying, stuff is going on. What can I say? So on April 13th, I kind of wrote this down. April 13th, we have our full moon, which is going to be at 23 degrees Libra. And Libra is a sign of harmony, it is a sign of peace.
Good.
So our Libra moon wants peace and harmony, and can't we all just get along? But the Aries sun is forceful and dynamic, and I want to do this. And Libra says, well, can't everybody be happy? Let's find a compromise. So they're struggling. So if you are a Libra, or if you are a cardinal sign, and the cardinal signs are Cancer, Aries, Capricorn, and Libra, they
Mhm.
may feel this full moon a little bit more intensely. And so they may be a little bit more bold in what they're saying. Cardinal signs are signs of leadership. So you may be asked to lead something, or you may decide to take charge of a project. You may be looking at your authority. What is your style as a boss? Or even if you're the employee, is it okay for them to talk to you like that?
Yeah.
Where do you stand up for yourself? Where do you want to move forward, kind of thing? Cardinal signs will move us into another level of being, into another style, into something else happening. So I do see this being exciting, but once again, it's more exciting when we're in charge of the energy instead of it being in charge of us.
Mhm.
So April is going to be a little bit easier than March. March is definitely a bumpy ride, but still a lot of shifts and a lot of changes happening in April. Yeah.
Well, and the energy of April for me feels like it is getting lighter, like moving into the summer. But when I feel it, the energy of the second half of this year feels a lot more, I don't know how to explain it, dramatic or global. If something crazy is going to go down, I think it would be like after summer. Um,
Yeah, I think
like
somewhere
September,
around
October,
June,
November.
July,
But the
for the
summer
United
feels,
States, something is happening.
you
Like
thinking
something's
when?
going
When?
on there.
When? When
June,
did
July.
June, July?
And I think it has to do with our government or our president or some sort of shift, some sort of change. It feels very unexpected. Like we can't see this coming. Like boom, something just
Oh,
happened.
ha! I had that written down. Get prepared for a big event. Yeah, and possible next emergency. So it's I we gotta pray for our leaders. We really do. We gotta that's what we can do. It's a lot of it's out of our control other than the prayers that we whisper. So we just gotta pray for common sense and peace that rules, and that there's no sinister agendas that are gonna play out here. But yeah,
The
I do
world is
feel
going to
that.
come through these challenging times.
Pardon?
Ultimately, ultimately, the world is going to come through
Yes,
these challenging
absolutely.
times. And
We're
that's what
here to
we need to
witness it.
remember.
Yeah, yeah, we're here to witness it and be a part of it for whatever reason, the same way our ancestors went through, great wars and feast and famine and everything else that they had to, face in their lifetime. Well, this is ours. So let's face it together with sovereignty and love and freedom and how can I help you? You know what I mean? I just think that we need to get back into our heart space. We really do. And I don't know, to me it feels clear. Oh, so we'll see. It feels clear. Well, other than like weather stuff, I pick up on weird weather stuff again in like April, May, June, July. But politically, I don't know. For me, anyways, it kind of feels like it's going to be towards the end of the year that things, we hear more divisive rhetoric, I think, or, more things to be, oh my God, about. I think that the summer's gonna be okay, other than weird weather situations. Like, I think it'll be less political. I think in the fall it'll be,
Weird
mind
weather is
you,
now like the norm, you know?
yeah, that's true. But that's the thing, it's because they keep getting away with it. You got to look into geoengineering, like weather modification and geoengineering. Like, it's crazy. And I see it all the time. You can tell when it's when the airplane has that big streak across the sky.
Mhm.
Well, yeah, some of them are, just a trail from an airplane, but some of them aren't. Some of them are actually spraying the skies to create clouds, and that's how they will get it to rain if we have drought. Or China created snow apparently for one of their Olympics. So, oh yeah, it's crazy what they can do. They've been seeding clouds for a long time. And so, anyways, I think we need to have our eyes wide open. We really do, moving into these next few years, because I think after 2025, and then the years that really stand out to me for big aha moments are 2025, 2030, and 2032 as well. For some reason, 2032 is another big shift.
2030 stands out to me, but I'm not getting 2032. So I'm with you on 25 and 30, and
Oh,
maybe a few years down the road, I'll get 32. Yeah.
we'll
Mine
have to
stops
wait
at
and see.
30.
Yeah, we'll just have to wait and see what's going down, what's in our future then. Let me just see if I got everything that, um, yeah, I think it did. Hang on, because I had two books of it, that I was writing down. Truth coming out. Um, I think I did. Yeah, and the digital currency, that's gonna really, really be pushed. But it's surveillance. People gotta realize that. All that stuff is surveillance, right? Because then they know exactly if you're not using cash. Cash is an untraceable way to do business. But the minute you do an interact and any sort of digital currency, everything you do is on the books, right? And I'm not saying, that I do anything illegal. I'm just, why is it the government's business what I spend my money on? And same thing with in the banks. This actually happened to me when I went to go get money for my trip. Because we're going to the Bahamas. We're leaving in Florida. Never been there before. Anyways, I went to go get my money exchanged, and they were grilling me on what it was for. What are you buying? Where are you going? I'm thinking, are you kidding me? Like, I cannot believe that you're asking this. So I said, so she's being really nice about it, the lady at the bank. And I said, can I refuse to answer this? And she goes, if you want to get, she goes, yeah, if you want to get flagged. And I'm like, are you kidding me? So yeah, you go and you pull out any sort of big amount, and it wasn't even that big of an amount. It was 2 grand. And I got grilled on how I'm going to spend my own money. That's freaky. That's freaky. I don't like it. Yeah, I don't like that. I'd rather pay things in cash and the government not know my business, not because I'm hiding anything, but because it's none of their business.
We're entitled to privacy.
Yeah, exactly. It feels very invasive. It does. So, anyways, that's the way all of this is going, and I just think it's gonna get worse. That's why I'm saying to people, like, eyes wide open, because if no one says anything and no one does anything, it's just gonna keep getting pushed, you know?
Going to get worse before it gets better. Eventually,
Absolutely.
it'll get better, but it's going to be
Abs-
quite a ride.
Oh, one other thing that I wanted to say, and I did predict this a while back, like years ago. I predicted that the people who were, and let's go back to COVID now for a second, that the people, the doctors and the nurses who were administering the shots would eventually be held liable for, yeah, and they just did. They just did. They just did in England, and it set precedent. So now, for people who have had vaccine injuries, you can sue. You can sue your whoever gave it to you. But now here's where I think that is so wrong. We should be able to sue the government because the government forced it. People lost their jobs because of it. You know what I mean? The doctors and the nurses were just doing their job due to what they were forced to do, because if they didn't take it or they didn't give it in their position, they were fired.
Right.
With no compensation. So I don't really know how they're getting away with that by putting the onus on the doctors and the nurses, like the people who did the actual injection. I really, really, really feel that it should have been the government who's being held responsible, since they're the one mandating it. But I hate to say it, that prediction came to pass, and yep, they're being held responsible for it. So that just came out. I'll try and find that clip too, where I said that, because someone asked me, is there ever going to be justice for this? And it's like, oh yeah, you'll be able to sue. You'll be able to sue. Just wait. But it'll be the doctors and the people giving it that will, get slammed for it. So yeah, just one other thing that I wanted to mention. So if there is anybody out there that is vaccine injured, please look into it in your area, whether you're in the States or whether you're in Canada, England, I don't care. Look into it, because they shouldn't be able to get away with this. Yeah, okay, I'll quit bitching about that now.
Okay.
More justice is gonna keep coming out. I do feel that. I do feel that. I think that there will be more truth and justice coming out in 2025, and more things about the injuries. Unfortunately, because the injuries are still ongoing, even if they didn't get any at the beginning. I just had a couple who I read for, both were just recently diagnosed with pericarditis, and they only took the two, 3 years ago. So it's weird that it's showing up now, but same batch, and they both got it. So it's bizarre. So all I'm saying is that there's probably still correlation there, because the doctors did say it would be 2 to 5 years before you see the full effects of it, right? So yeah, just know that you can sue. Okay. Anything else? How do I leave this on a good note? Because I feel like I sank the video and put
We're
it
having the retrograde
bad
energy
note.
leave. Things are on direct motion. We're moving forward. Things are going to start to calm down a little bit. More intuitiveness. Listen
Thank
within to that still small voice, and come back next month so we could hear about Patricia's cruise.
Yes, and I won't be the negative Nelly next month. I'll come back with a tan and a million really cool things to say, and maybe an alien story or two. So we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. Thank
Okay.
you for listening to me jabber on. And remember, this is all just my opinion, my insight, my foresight, whatever you want to call it. I just thank you guys so much for
This
listening.
is entertainment.
It
Patricia and I
is.
poke around and we see what
Leave
we
it at
come up
that.
with. Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe it's
totally.
right, maybe it's wrong, maybe it's somewhere in the middle. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. And hey, I am the type of person that when I'm wrong, I will absolutely admit it. Like, for example, Justin Trudeau. I said he'd be out by June with his tail between his legs. It was January. See, I got the J right, but I thought it was June. It was January,
Welcome to the world of intuition.
right? It is, honest to God. But I knew he'd be out with his tail between his legs, and they would replace him with Carney. I have that on video, and I will do the little snip trick if I can. If I can, I'll get one of my kids to figure it out for me. But I do have that where I predicted that. So, anyways, okay. God bless you, Susan. Thank you so much for joining me again and listening to me ramble on. I always love, love, love your meetings every month. I look forward to it.
I always have a good time. If you want to know what's going on with your sign, go to my website, exploreastrology.com. Free predictions out there for every sign for April. So check yours out and see what's going on with you. And Patricia and I'll be back next month. So you guys have a great month.
Absolutely. And you guys know where to find me, patriciamona.com. I teach online and both in studio. So if you're in Calgary, come join me anytime. God bless. We'll see you guys next month. Take care. Bye for now.